Chef IQ smart thermometer system. That's what I'm calling it. And this is what I love about it. When you push the power button, there's actually a power button here. Give it a second.
Please open the Chef IQ app to connect to your device.
Boom. It actually gives you instructions and there's an actual power but can I say that again? There's an actual power button letting you know when the unit is on and off. How cool is that? Not just any kind of like blinking light or anything. This is the 3 probe system. And by the way, this is the old coot coming at you with another exciting product review. Okay, so here's what I love about this thing. It has a power button. Can I say that 100 times? Yes, it's got an actual power button. Comes with its own charging cord, which is a pretty decent USB-C charging cord to power this. And then basically the way it works is when you have all your probes in there, it charges all 3. So you kind of get that idea. And then you have like this strobing light. I think it's what I would call it. It's kind of like a lime green light that's going on. But basically, it's got its own cover, right? So this would go into kitchen countertop. Just make sure. I think it does have an auto shut off, but just in case, you can always power it down. Let me just power it down real quick. You press and hold. You hear that? You hear that beeping noise, and then basically the unit. I believe that's how and then the unit's off, and there you go. So there you go. But anyways, let me show you some packaging and some instructional stuff that came with it. Here's your experience book, right? So using your smart thermometer, you get the idea. I'm sure when you check out the link below down there in the description section to this, you can kind of do your own research and see what's up and how it works and all that good stuff. But there you go. There's your internal temperature, is how you set it. Real-time readings. Obviously, you need the app, so you're going to have to download the app to use it. And then it'll kind of tell you like what you want to do with your different temperature settings. So beef, right? Steak, you've got filet mignon. I mean, you can actually go into the thickness, how thick it is, how you're cooking it. I mean, how cool is that you have so much modularity, right? So many little finite little things that you can adjust, especially if you're going for like a piece of salmon, for instance, where temperature is crucial to getting that perfect doneness on the inside, crispiness on the outside, but not being overcooked. There looks like a nice slight or cut of steak with mushroom, Dijon sauce. You get the idea. So then here's your seamless experience. Probe lasts for hours, right after just 1 minute of charging. 40 hours of continuous probe use after a full charge, right? You can receive live alerts with the built-in speaker. So that's kind of cool. So this does have, obviously it has a built-in speaker, which is pretty awesome, right? Play some tunes on here, maybe not, but you kind of get the idea, right? There's the backside of water of the actual unit itself. There's a serial number and all that good stuff. Shep Hub model, so you get the idea and all that. There's your 3-volt battery, you kind of get the idea. But very cool design, very cool. Like it's got a good weight to it. Like I feel like I'm getting a good quality product. Obviously, you got the 3 probes. You can use 1, you can use 2, or you can use all 3. And obviously, after downloading the app, right, you can control each one and tell each one a different temperature that you want it to be set to. Whether, like, let's say in my case, the next thing I'm going to be doing is a big turkey again, probably like a 10-pound, 15-pound turkey. So I'm going to be doing 1 in the breast meat, 1 in the thigh meat, maybe 1 like on the underside or the top side or whatever, just to kind of get a true accurate sense of what's going on. So 15-hour wireless use time, rechargeable smart hub. So that means this unit here, and the way that you charge these, by the way, in case you're curious, is basically this would go into like your typical, cell phone charger, USB charger on this side. Then this side goes in there. As long as all 3 of these probes are in there, or if you just want to charge 1 at a time, that's fine. Just make sure that they're in there. Right, let's see if we can do this one hand. Just make sure that they're in between these 2 prongs right here, and that's what allows it to be charged. So as you plug in the base unit, right, to charge, the base unit charges and also the probes charge. So you could have 1 or 3 or 2 or 3 or 1 and 2 or whatever. You could have all 3 of them in there. It'll charge everything all at the same time, and it's got smart technology that automatically shuts off. So there's no way to overcharge this. I mean, I wouldn't leave this plugged in for 5 days or anything. Just charge it and unplug it. You get the idea. So anyways, here you go. So here's your world's thinnest wireless probe, keeps proteins intact, right? So you're not damaging your protein by that's another key thing, is when you are cooking something like a turkey, you got to remember, if you're going to use a normal thermometer where you're probing it and then pulling the probe back out, you've now created like almost like a lava tube where all the juices are going to come out like a fire hose out of that that hole that you just created. With these probes, when you put them into your turkey, they stay in there until you're done cooking. And actually, what I do recommend is after you take, let's say you are going to make a turkey, right? And you take it out of the oven and you let it rest for 40 minutes or half an hour or whatever, leave the probe in there. Don't pull it out right away. Wait a little bit, like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then pull the probe out, just so those juices that are in the turkey don't come, flying out like a fire hose. But anyways, here's the rest. Pairs with your Chef IQ app. Connect anywhere with Wi-Fi. You get the idea. Food cooks with the probe in for real-time tracking, which is basically the whole point of all this, is you want real-time tracking to know what's going on with your food as you're cooking it. That's what the actual probe looks like. Very nice that they numbered them too. So you can so that way you kind of know what number 1 is doing, what number 2 is doing, what number 3 is doing. You kind of get the idea. And then the way your probe works is, as you can see here, let me pull back this little rubber grommet little piece. But the way it works is basically you need to have it inserted to a minimum of right there. Ideally, when you put your probe in, you want it to go to, let's say this first line, which is about 1 inch deep. This would be about 1 inch and like a half. This would be about 2 inches deep, but you never want to go past this last line. Like you don't want this whole end to be inside of the bird or the turkey or the meat or the roast beef or whatever it is. You basically, this is your last line right there. And that's where you want to insert it to, the most that you ever want to insert it inside of whatever it is that you're cooking or whatever. You kind of get the idea. So then, as mentioned before, once these have cooled down, make sure they cool down to at least room temperature, 68 to 72 degrees. Once they cool down, just go ahead and take like a wet paper towel or like a wet washcloth or whatever, or if you have like a soft sponge, just wipe it clean very quickly. You don't have to, do not ever like try to immerse these in water. I wouldn't recommend it. Just especially this last part right here, this last half, just basically wipe it off clean. Once you feel like it's clean, let it dry again. Make sure it's dry and then put it back inside of here. And when you hear the 2 clicks that the 2 prongs have made connection, right? Let's see if I can do this with one hand. Here we go. Now it's ready to be charged. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. And then remove clear ring before first usage. What they're talking about is this ring right here. That was basically to hold it on there. And as mentioned, as you put the probe into whatever you're cooking, fish, meat, steak, poultry, pork, whatever the case may be, the first line, you have to go at least past this first line to get it to register right. That way it's working properly. But then ideally it'd be nice if you could get it all the way up into this third line. So try not to think of it as going into your steak. Like if this was an actual piece of steak, I wouldn't go into my steak this way. I would go in from the side, right? From the side or from this side to make sure that the probe's in there, but also make sure that you're in the center of the meat. So you want to be in the center of your meat, top to bottom, and also left to right. And as mentioned, try to go through the thickest part of the meat, which in this case, if this was like a nice, what would this be? Like maybe an 8-ounce New York steak. What I would do is I would go in from this side or this side, right? And just get that probe in there so that the probe's kind of sitting like halfway. You get the idea. So more about this waterproof probe, right? I still wouldn't submerge it in water. Like don't stick this in your sink and let it sit overnight because you're waiting to wash the dishes the next day. Use it, right? Wait for it to cool back down to room temperature. Wipe it clean with a paper towel, something like that. A moistened cloth, something like a good washcloth does wonders with some soap and water. You get the idea. Make sure it's clean. Make sure it's dry. Dry it off thoroughly. Then put it back into its base, and then you can recharge it, or you can wait to charge it, or whatever. So there's that part. Here's this part. Here was all this. We took a look at all this, right? There's your piece of meat right there and how the probe is being inserted, right? So they're kind of showing all that stuff. There's your temperatures, all that good stuff. Here's the backside of this instructional manual if you want to go ahead and see that. There you go. There's all that stuff. I cannot wait to test this out on a turkey coming up soon. Stay tuned for that video. That's the reason why you want to hit the like button, the subscribe button, all the good stuff. Here's more instructions. Read all the instructions, right? Caution, the probe does get hot because if the internal temperature of your meat is 150, guess what? The probe's going to be 150 too, if not hotter. So there you go. So there you go. There's the idea and all that stuff. It comes very well packaged. Love the boxing. I do. As mentioned before, I cannot say this 100 times. Love that power button. Just knowing that it's on or that it's off and a clear visible signal that it's on or it's off. That is amazing. Here's your boxing. If you want to go ahead and see that, there's the Chef IQ. There's that part. Smart thermometer. You kind of get the idea. Very nicely packaged. So very cool stuff. There's the bottom. Anyways, if you do like what you're seeing, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button down there below. I will put a link to this down in the description section. They also make a 1 probe and a 2 probe version. If you're curious, they make a whole bunch of other great products. I'll put links to those down below in the description. So make sure to check that out. I'm the Old Coot. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you all in the next exciting video.